Am I the a-hole for defending my daughter's religious choices? I understand religion can be a touchy subject sometimes, so I'll try to tread carefully. My daughter Jessica, 22 female, dropped the bombshell that she was going to be an atheist and did not wish to attend church services anymore unless necessary, weddings, funerals, etc. As her mother, I was initially shocked and rather hurt because I raised her as a Catholic, but we had lengthy discussions and worked through the adjustment together. Since then, Jessica has been happy with the new arrangements, as am I. After finishing a quarter of summer school and with more free time on her hands, Jessica decided to drive up to visit her grandparents and planned to stay there for the rest of the summer before the school year started again. But not even 1 week into her stay, Jessica drove home upset. She told me that when her grandparents were prepping for church, as they always do every Saturday, Jessica mentioned that she was now an atheist and did not want to attend church anymore and would wait for them to get home before resuming activities together. But her grandmother blew up upon hearing the news and started saying hurtful comments, like how Jessica would be punished by him and how she was being manipulated by evil spirits, to say the least. The two apparently quarreled for a good half hour or so before Jessica decided to leave, according to my daughter. She tried to have a thoughtful conversation, but said her grandmother was too stubborn and unwilling to listen despite grandfather's attempts to calm the situation. She still forced Jessica to go to church, and that was when Jessica decided to leave. After tending to Jessica's needs, I called my mother up and she told me I was a terrible parent for raising a soulless child. I argued back, saying that Jessica is an adult and was entitled to her own beliefs and lack thereof, as were we. I questioned my mother if she loved her grandchild any less now that she did not believe in the same higher power. My mother deflected and kept repeating that Jessica was a sinner and she would go to heck if I didn't fix her behavior. Getting nowhere, and in the spur of the moment, I impulsively ended the call by saying, "You know what? I'd rather burn for all eternity if grandparents like you were in heaven." Now I'm very torn because I let my emotions get the better of me and may have ruined my relationship with my mother over my reckless, curt response. However, I also wasn't willing to let her talk about my daughter this way either. Am I the a-hole? You're not the a-hole. You rightfully defended your daughter. That's the end of it for me. Doesn't matter whether this was about religion or identity or a dietary choice. If it's hurting no one else, then leave her be. Faith is a personal thing. No amount of churching is going to make you believe if you don't. And no amount of debating is going to make you not believe if you do. The key thing is to mind your business and move on. I think the thing is, the grandmother probably believes Jessica is hurting herself, in this case her soul, by being atheist. Well, I think this actually brings up another good point though, that people like these grandparents seem to forget. Having faith is a choice that individuals must make due to the sheer nature of free will. Forcing or guilting someone into making that choice isn't the same thing as them having their own conviction of faith and believing in those things of their own free will. That's why even Jesus makes a big deal out of religion being a deeply personal relationship that is only between the believer and God. You can't force that relationship on someone else. That's literally not how any of this works at all. And by doing that, you're taking away their free will. Big no-no, since that was kind of the main factor in the whole concept of faith as a whole. Faith itself is believing in something despite having no evidence or facts to back it up. And if you don't have that, pretending to have it for the comfort of others isn't going to magically give someone a free pass into heaven. You're also passing judgment on others, which is super not any man's place. God is pretty flipping clear that he doesn't like when people do his job for him. Multiple times. As a man on earth abiding by the teachings of Christ, a true believer's only real job is to love their neighbors unconditionally, thus showing non-believers that faith can bring community, love, and support, regardless of who you are or where you come from. That's the whole point. Being mean to people who don't share your beliefs is completely counterproductive to that goal. Also, just to clarify, I'm atheist myself, but I was raised in the church. So it's not like I'm pulling this out of my ass. I'm pulling it out of the Bible. LOL. You're not the a-hole. Grandma is using God's name for coercion verbal abuse. That's blasphemy. So if anyone's going to heck, it's grandma. She's not acting very Christian. I read something recently that was like, if God makes us all in his image, why do atheists exist? The answer is that atheists don't have a higher power to answer to or repercussions if they sin. Every nice thing they do is completely 100% of their own free will, generously, and without any expectation of reward in heaven. So when you see atheists volunteering at soup kitchens or helping the poor, it can remind you that humans are kind. If anyone has read this recently, want to link it. I'm sure it's much more eloquent than what I put here. I'm agnostic atheist, raised in a Christian community, and I really tried to believe in God growing up, but I just couldn't get there. Right out of high school, I worked at a store where a really overbearing Christian worked too. He once asked me which church I went to, and I told him I didn't. He was shocked. He told me he couldn't believe it. Because I was such a good person, surely I go to church. I told him I don't need a higher power to tell me what's right or wrong. But at the end of the day I need to be okay with what I'm doing. A student I taught once told me the same thing. He then said, if you don't believe in Christianity and go to church, why do you still follow the 10 commandments? Why don't you go out and kill someone? He was genuine. Bless his little cotton socks. I just told him that it's part of being a good human. As a former Catholic, now atheist, I have nothing but admiration for how you've handled your daughter's shift away from religion, and how you defended her to your own mother. Frankly, I'll never understand the schizoid belief that some believers like your own mom have, that their God is both loving and willing to torture you eternally for not believing in them. For believing that their God is both omnipotent and yet also pathetically narcissistic in needing to be worshipped by everyone. You're not the a-hole. Raised Catholic. Absolutely love my family's take on the first commandment, people deciding what God would say or what God will do or that God won't allow is the same thing as worshipping a full cycle. AITA raised pro-choice. Church on Sunday until adult, then choice. Accepting other religions' ways, identities. If everyone is made in the image and likeness of God, then your mom and daughter are the same, and she's kinda fricked if she believes her granddaughter is going to burn in heck. I usually lurk, not sure my keen interest here, but alas, you're not the a-hole. You're not the a-hole. You're not the a-hole for the principle of standing up for your daughter. And you're not the a-hole for losing your temper in the face of severe provocation either. Could you have handled it differently? Well, yes. But you know that already. There is, however, no particular reason why you should have your mother isn't entitled to behave that way and expect you to just shrug it off. You're not the a-hole. Your mother is attempting to impose her beliefs on both you and your daughter. You are angry, you're human. If her priest is not an idiot, he will tell your mother to apologize. Perhaps your dad could engineer that conversation. I'm not a believer, but two of the things I like about Christianity are the way it stresses humility by its adherents, and how it encourages us to be constructive about our mistakes. You're not the a-hole. Preface: I'm an atheist who has studied a lot of religious texts and religions as cultural structures. You can't force someone to have belief. You can ask them to live their life in a kind, thoughtful, caring way, and this, if you read the Bible properly, is what the New Testament and teachings of Jesus repeat over and over again. God rewards people not for going to church and praying, i.e. creating the appearance of being a good Christian, but actually living like good Christians in how they behave and treat others. It's not like a punch-in-time card, hey, I did my 52 church visits a year and so get an entry pass for heaven. It's about kindness and charity and forgiveness and acceptance. This is all the stuff I love about Christian beliefs. It's not about our way is the only way and you'll be damned in hellfire, and you must follow every single archaic rule that doesn't fit with modern life. All the things I hate about Christianity as an organized religion. Unfortunate Catholicism as an organized religion has tended to forget this along the way and got more focused on the rituals than on the way you live your everyday life. Jesus specifically says not to condemn those who sin or judge them, but to welcome them with open arms and encourage them to behave differently. Church is meant to be for learning about how to behave different and interpret the teachings, not to demonstrate how devout you are. Your mother, quite frankly, is not being a good Christian. Your daughter will find her own way. If I end up going to church, I approach it as a peaceful time to think internally about my life and how I behave and treat others. It's not a compromise to my atheism or the worst thing to have to do. You're not the a-hole. Your children come first, then everything else second. Sure, you cold handled it differently, but we all have our heat of the moment moments. What matters is your daughter in this situation. It was wrong of the grandparents to try to force religion onto someone. It is wrong FKR anyone to force anything onto another individual, like religion or ideology. As a Christian, I have seen this on both sides. I've seen atheists try to make my friends feel stupid for being a Christian, and I've seen Christians do exactly what your grandmother did to atheists. I don't like either of those scenarios, and I truly hope that the attacker in either of those situations is a better person tomorrow. Anyway, I just thought I would share that. You did good by sticking to your daughter on this. Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing for more videos.